This is a place for crazy people. I'm not crazy.
Suppose you were mistakenly hospitalized in an asylum. How would you prove you're not insane? Like in the 1995 movie 12 Monkeys. A scientist who wondered about this, David Rosenhan, managed to shock the scientific world with his article describing the experiment he published in 1973. After the results of this experiment he published, nothing was the same in the world of psychology and psychiatry. Also known as the Rosenhan experiment. This experiment was conducted by David Rosenhan and went down in history as one of the most surprising studies.
Between 1969 and 1972, a group of colleagues and I gained admission to psychiatric hospitals by faking a single symptom, which was that we said that we heard voices, and the voices said, empty, dull, thud. The moment we were admitted to the hospital, we abandoned our symptom, and we behaved the way we usually behave. The question was, would anyone detect that we were sane?
As Rosenhan himself said, he trained himself and 7 of his other friends as fake patients. They applied to a total of 12 mental hospitals across the United States, saying they heard some voices in their heads. One of these hospitals was one of the most expensive in its field. After being accepted by mental hospitals, they continued to behave normally again. Their aim was to observe how psychologists and psychiatrists behaved while they were in the hospital. Although these fake patients started to behave normally, they were forcefully treated in the hospital for the shortest 7 days and the longest 52 days. 8 patients stayed in the hospital for 129 days in total and were given 2,100 drugs. The diseases were supposedly the same, but the types of drugs given were different. 7 patients were diagnosed with schizophrenia and 1 with manic depressive psychosis. The most shocking result of the experiment is that none of the discharged patients were discharged with a cured disease. All of them were discharged as their diseases regressed. This shocking result revealed that there was a widespread belief at that time that mental illnesses could not be completely cured. If you've been on the video so far, the real tragicomic part begins now. After this article was published, many in the world of psychology and psychiatry said the experiment was exaggerated, and some even attacked Rosenhan's personality. A famous hospital challenged Rosenhan, claiming that such a situation would not occur in their own hospital. They asked him to send fake patients for 3 months, and said that they could easily diagnose these patients. Rosenhan accepted this challenge. The hospital announced that 41 of the 193 patients who applied to them for 3 months were definitely fake patients, and they also suspected 42 people. However, Rosenhan again surprised everyone with his statement, because he hadn't sent anyone to this hospital. The surprising results about this experiment do not end there. 8 subjects, including Rosenhan and colleagues, communicated with 118 real mental patients throughout the experiment. 35 of these patients realized that the subjects were not real patients and said they were doctors who concealed their identity, or that they were staff inspecting hospitals. So while psychiatrists and psychologists couldn't realize that the subjects were not actually ill, mental patients could. When this experiment was published in Science magazine, with the title On Being Sane in Insane Places in 1973, we said that it drew reactions from many other experts. But what do you think was the thesis defended by these experts? Could Rosenhan really be a swindler? Susanna Cahalan, in her book The Great Pretender, published in 2019, researched who David Rosenhan's 7 famous fake patients were. She accesses all the documents left by Rosenhan and finds the opportunity to examine them one by one. The results are again surprising. She can't find any names other than Rosenhan himself and a doctoral student named Harry. The profession and gender of the other 6 people are supposed to be known in the published article, but their identities are unknown. The interesting thing is that after the publication of the article about the experiment, no one focused on the identities of the subjects. Also, the experiment may have been tailored to get the results Rosenhan wanted. Let's say you go to the emergency room with fake blackouts. You pretended to be experiencing prolonged unconsciousness. Even if you declare that you are fine, doctors will want to keep you in the emergency room until they diagnose the disease. As in Rosenhan's experiment, psychologists tried to diagnose the problem and apply a treatment. You will agree that the diagnosis of mental illness is not as easy as medical illness. Therefore, it is quite normal that doctors could not take the risk of immediate discharge of patients who could potentially harm themselves and their environment by not making an urgent decision. Whether Rosenhan was really a scientist or a great pretender, we leave it to your discretion. But the results of this experiment have revealed how morbid our view of the mentally ill is. During the experiment, subjects reported many abuses and physical violence. How well did the mentally ill actually get the treatment they deserved? Even if these patients were discharged, they would return to the society not as healthy individuals who had recovered from their diseases, but as patients whose diseases were in regression. Just imagine the difficulties of living with this label.